to Grey County Life at Home. And once again, we are here with Mr. Charlie Brown, who is flaked out and camera ready, probably more so than I am, because with this social isolation stuff, I've certainly been indulging in the last week in a lot of treats, and including Grandma Lamb's butter tarts, which I think I've converted a few more addicts this past week, which is yoo-hoo, good for Grandma Lance because I want to keep the supply going. And yeah, other than that, we've got a little bit of cool weather, which I don't know, on one hand, Mary Jane, I like that because it's not as difficult to stay isolated when it's cold and dreary outside as it will be when the weather turns, eh?
Well, actually, it worked out really well for us because as soon as the snow melted, we have this huge rock pile halfway up our driveway. And of course, we want the rocks in the backyard. So we've been hauling rocks for days, it seems like for weeks, trying to do this rock garden from gardening with your local experts. When we were at Keppel Croft, they had beautiful rock gardens, and I came home and said, wow, we could do that. So once again, we are hauling rocks, and so some days, our bodies are really, really tired, and my hands are all swollen from placing rocks, but so the weather is okay to be kind of cool and dreary, and I want to get this all done before the heat.
Yes, before it starts to get warm and we actually want to be out enjoying our backyards, which will be quite
well,
nice.
That's right. I'm going to put cushions out on the chairs and put my feet up and then have that margarita machine on my deck, along with you and Darlene, and, sort of celebrating all the things that we've done and achieved in spite of the social isolation and the lockdown. We're day 53 of lockdown.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am.
Oh, boy, it sure does blend together after a while, doesn't it?
Well, certainly, and I've been keeping a daily count just for my own record keeping and sanity. But
so
I'm in my comfort zone.
I was just going to say, Mary Jane,
cooking over the last week or so.
If you and I were in prison together, you would be the one marking the calendar on the wall for us.
Well, that's right. My husband, because of all this hauling of rocks from the front to the back, Brian says we are auditioning for San Quentin because that's all we're doing. It's just hauling rocks from one side of the property to the other.
Well, that's good exercise. And that's the one thing, actually, I was, I've been doing lots of self-reflection during this COVID-19 and thinking about, life and, what we've done up till now and what do we want to take forward with us. And it's, this is a really unique opportunity that, I've never experienced this. I know I've been reading a book actually about a family that, grew up on a farm where they would be isolated in the winter, snowbound for a month easily every winter. It's something people grew up with. We are not accustomed to this at all. So, figuring out what we want to take forward is kind of a great kind of side track to preoccupy your mind. But I've also came to the conclusion that I have a lot of people in my life that are very positive, happy people, and they don't get bogged down with these sorts of events and things in life. The general ups and downs of life, which we all have. And the one thing that is common among all of these people in my life is music. They all listen to music, during their daily activities, during the car ride. I've always kind of liked peace and quiet. I guess, life is busy for me out and about, and I kind of get it really quiet when I'm at home or in the car. But lately I thought, you know what? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna really start to listen to a lot more music and, dance around the kitchen a little bit and see how that takes my mood and my thought process, because sometimes I think we do maybe too much self-reflection and too much thought on the deep, dark stuff of life, and sometimes just throwing caution to the wind and listening to happy music is a good thing, or cooking in the kitchen with Mary Jane.
As I have mentioned before, this is my comfort zone, and I do spend a lot of time here. And it's not so much that we eat it. Lots of times it just goes in the freezer, but I am preparing a couple of packages of cookies to send to grandchildren in Kingston, and another package to send to grandchildren in London. So I've been doing cookies this week as well to get those packages off and in the mail. But today I wanted to just talk about something quick, simple, and easy. That's my little catchphrase for anything that's in the kitchen. And just hopeful that it turns out to something wonderful. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But Rhonda, we eat it anyway because we just simply don't waste food. So what I was going to do today was start off with white sauce and then gradually work into a cheese sauce, because you have to start with the white sauce as a foundation in order to make a cheese sauce. And so what I'm going to do is just start with, just turn the heat up a little bit here, is start with 2 tablespoons of butter. Get that melted. Oh, I think I need one more to make that 2 tablespoons. And this is from a recipe book that is behind me. It's called Better Homes and Gardens. And I've had this book for my mother gave it to me, about 50 years. And this is kind of my go-to recipe book. I know that so many folks are using online recipes, but I find that having a few special cookbooks that I refer to all the time, that's where my best recipes come from. Well, except for my apple muffins, which I made myself, made up the recipe myself. So now that the butter is nicely melted, where's the camera? Can you see? There. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. Now, one of the tricks with this is you don't want lumps. So it's really important to keep that stirring going. 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, and a whole wheat all-purpose, or an all-purpose white flour. And you get this kind of creamy little sauce. I can't find the camera.
Tilt back the other way. Yeah. We'll look.
So it's nice and smooth. And you want your heat at a medium heat. And then gradually add your milk. And it's 1 cup of milk. What I like is 2 teaspoons of butter, or 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, and a cup of milk. And that is your white sauce. That's it.
For how much time and effort goes into making it from scratch like that, the difference between that and store-bought sauce is unbelievable.
Well, it's also economical. It's usually things that you have in your home. Mm-hmm. And then we just add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, I'm not a big salt person, so sometimes the salt goes in, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what I'm going to do with the white sauce, because it can be a base for casseroles. It can be a base and add some sauteed garlic just to give it a little zip if you want to put it over pasta or if you're adding it to some other ingredients. The other thing with the white sauce, it's a base for scalloped potatoes. So
love scalloped potatoes.
I do as well. Haven't made them recently because they're usually something for a special occasion. When we have the whole family here, that's what I'll make, scalloped potatoes. But the trick with the sauce is not to let it get lumpy. And it's really easy if you're cooking with a lot of people in around, and I've got grandchildren and adults talking and we're busy doing things, it can get lumpy. So all you need to do is put it through a fine sieve, and there you have a nice smooth white cheese, white sauce. So if you're using it for scalloped potatoes, then you can include in your potato dish, you can include mushrooms or you can include onion. One daughter-in-law doesn't like mushrooms. One daughter-in-law doesn't like onions. So depending on who's here for dinner, it depends on what the scalloped potatoes look like. I have fabulous daughter-in-laws, so I'm going to cook their favorites always. So the sauce starts to get a thick. Constant stirring is really important so that it doesn't get lumpy or solid or burn. It's really easy to burn a white sauce if you're not keeping it moving. So with the white sauce, then you can add your cheese. So that you've got your white sauce as your base. If you're going to use it for scalloped potatoes or for the base of a casserole, a little sauteed garlic, just give that zip if you want to. Now I'm just going to add 1 cup of shredded cheese.
Now, when you make your cheese sauce, do you add a mustard powder, dry mustard powder?
No, I don't. But I do have some secret ingredients.
Oh.
When my sons were at home and not standing on the counters, they were cooking with me, and we started cooking when they were about 2. And so 2 of my sons have carried on that tradition and cook a lot and are very experimental with foods. So this would have been my basic cheese sauce that I use. And when I was talking to my son, Doug, he said, "Oh, Mom, I now put in a little bit of paprika." Okay, well, let's try that. So I've been adding about 1/8 of a teaspoon of paprika to the cheese sauce. And then you want to have it. I like my cheese sauce, depending on what whether it's just a cheese sauce or whether it's a base for a casserole, particularly like a tuna casserole or something like that. I always add, just turn that down a little bit, Worcestershire sauce. Because I like my cheese sauce to have a real zip to it. So I put in about a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Oops, better keep that stirring. It's really getting, oh. Guess what I'm going to be eating this afternoon? Oh, you never have enough cheese sauce. And a little bit of pepper. So we don't get to eat like this on a regular basis, but we always have a formal Sunday dinner, even though there's just the 2 of us left. They're all off with their own families. But
that is a really nice thing to do, a nice tradition, something to look forward to all week.
Oh, well, yes, because that's when we get to eat real food, other than just steamed vegetables, protein, and fruit. That's our general diet. But Sunday has the sauces, the specialty meats, the potatoes. Potatoes. Guide the potato. And that is your cheese sauce. Can you see that on the camera? It's it's beautiful. It's soft. It's just the right consistency. And that, now, what am I going to do with the cheese sauce? Well, I have prepared. Now, I'm just going to turn the camera down just slightly. Can you see?
Oh.
So, with the cheese sauce, what shall we do with it? Well, I like my kitchen because everything is handy. I have everything I need. It's not a very big kitchen, but it's practical and everything. So what do you do with the cheese sauce? Well, you pour a little on steamed vegetables, broccoli and cauliflower. You can hide a lot of things under a cheese sauce, particularly if children don't like a lot of vegetables.
And they can.
Cheese sauce was a trick that I used when the boys were growing up. On pasta. Now, with pasta, oh, cheese sauce, because you know who's going to be eating this later on. Never. You can always, with pasta, a little dried, crispy breadcrumbs, or in this case, just a sprinkle of parsley, just to give it a little personality. And of course, a favorite in our house is nachos. A little salsa. And cheese sauce.
Gee whiz, Mary Jane.
Yes.
Mary Jane, you might get a knock on your door this afternoon, okay? In about a half an hour. Around about lunchtime.
I could just leave it on the front porch for you. And of course, anytime that you're making a souffle or you're making an omelet with eggs, the cheese sauce goes really well with that as well. So a cheese sauce is multifunctional in terms of what you can do with it and how you can enhance your meal with just a very simple cheese sauce. So thanks to Doug, my son, who suggested the paprika and the Worcestershire sauce, just makes that cheese sauce just has a little more zip to it and just a little more flavor. And I appreciate his experimentation with it. Now, the other day, he told me that he made a cheese sauce and it was all lumpy. And I said, get out your sieve. Of course, he has 3 children at home for 53 odd days. Oh. And it was a busy household. It's easy for it to get lumpy. Just get out a sieve, put it through the sieve, and then you've got a beautiful sauce. And you're all.
Well, and everybody knows with cheese sauce, because I'm in charge of the pairings. Yes. So, my producer did say that I probably shouldn't crack the wine first thing this morning since we're not even at lunchtime. So, but what I have, so this is actually wine that I did at the Wine Expert. I think it's called the Wine Expert. That's terrible, isn't it? I know it's located up on the west side near the new Pizza Hut location. And I think Captain John's. Yeah, Wine Expert. So I go there each year and make wine around Christmas for clients. And I also make a batch, for at home, just in case. And this, their white wines are spectacular. So there's a Sauvignon Blanc to go with a nice dry cheese or nice not so sweet cheese, right? So if your cheese sauce, depending on the application, like you say, what you're putting it on. So you've got stuff for dry. I also, a light red is always quite nice because some people just don't care. If you like red, it doesn't matter if they say it's supposed to be white. If it feels good to you, enjoy it. In November, the wine store, the LCBO, releases their new wines each year. And my dad turned me on to that because they're really lovely. There's a lot of different kinds, and you can go in and get a few different bottles. And this one's called The Fool. And I know you can't really see it very well, but they're nice light reds because they're brand new and they're quite nice. My dad is probably going to shoot me for giving this out as information, but maybe I'll be lucky and he'll skip this show. Then I read also too that if it's a sweet cheese, they said, Havarti, that sort of thing, like a smooth, creamy, little sweeter cheese, that rum goes with it too. So I thought, a nice rum-based drink with your meal. You don't have to stick to the wine if you don't like it, right?
Well, that's really good advice because I prefer a white wine. My husband prefers a red wine. And so it's good to know that there might be a nice light red wine that I might enjoy as well. I'll have to keep that in mind. But the other thing too is sometimes people will make a fondue, which is basically a cheese sauce with other cheeses mixed in. And so it becomes a little more thicker. And you just need a nice crusty bread in with the cheese and with a delicious glass of wine to go with it. I mean, there's a party right there, whether it's social isolation or whether it's gathering. So
we could totally do a virtual fondue, Mary Jane. I'd be right up for that, and I'm sure Darlene would be too, and Mark.
Absolutely. But there's so many things that are really quick and easy, and people are now actually cooking more at home. I mean, we want to support our local businesses, but at the same time that we are maybe financially a little tight because we don't have the flow of finances the way perhaps we did before. And doing some of these simple things can help stretch your budget as well as enhance the flavors in your food. And that's why I have always gone for quick, simple, and easy. Anything that I've done with little ones running around the house years ago, when I was cooking, I always had to be quick, simple, and easy because I was always having to chase a toddler somewhere. And now I've just carried that on because particularly when we have large, all the families here, all 13 of us are here at once, and there's 5 grandchildren running around. I want things that are quick and easy. And the other thing with the cheese sauce, when I know that I'm preparing for like a Christmas dinner or an Easter dinner or Thanksgiving, I will make the cheese sauce in advance and pop it in the freezer.
In the freezer?
And freeze it. And just pull it out and put it on the stove. I'm not actually having to make it along with the gravies and all the vegetables and the meats and things like that. It's in the freezer. Just put it in the pan, stir it up. And I always get one of the boys to come and stir the gravy and the cheese sauce so that I'm doing other things.
That is very good advice. I didn't realize that you could freeze it because, sometimes it's a bit time consuming to add that into the mix, but it just really tops off any kind of a meal.
Oh, yeah. There's never, whenever I look in the pot, I'll say to the boys, what do you think? Is there enough cheese sauce? And they always say there's never enough.
Cheese sauce. I feel the same way. It's usually about the red wine.
Oh, yeah. Well, that too. And they will attest to how much wine I drink while I'm cooking. Depends on how full the pot is with cheese sauce. But at the beginning of the show, you were talking about how people have time to reflect and looking inward and looking at our lives and being grateful for some of the simple, small pleasures that we have, and being grateful for the health and well-being of our family. But we also maybe have the odd dark day when we're really feeling, this is just too much right now. I'm just missing too many things. Richard Sadowski is putting together a book. And I've asked people to submit some of their writings and about how the COVID lockdown and the global pandemic and all the safety features and all the things that are impacting us, the social isolation and the loneliness, and being grateful, as I said, for the small things in life. And so he's asked people to submit them to him through his email, which I don't know offhand, but if you wanted to get in touch with him and enter your submissions, he's going to be putting together a book. So
just to say who he is our current poet laureate in Owen Sound. And yes, his spoken word, if you're on Facebook, if you get a chance to see his spoken word things, really very nice, very nice. He's got a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I've read about that too, where you can submit the writings, and that is an awesome idea. Just great.
Well, I had a dark day and wrote a poem, which I haven't done for years, and then 20 days later had another dark day. Would just go outside and it would just come to me. So I have a couple of poems that that he's interested in me submitting. And but one of the things that's really important is that balance. That even though things may be dark, we still, okay, this is what I'm grateful for. I'm lonely, or I'm having a struggle today, but I'm still grateful for this simple. And for me, it was just going outside and sitting in a Muskoka chair.
Yeah, and you know what? And you have to remember, this too shall pass, and we will be back next week with another episode of Grey County at Life at Grey County Life at Home. And remember to laugh at yourselves, people. See you next week.
Bye. Take care.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Sharon Skelly, host of Community Close-Up. Please watch us every week here on Rogers TV.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability,